are back. Episode 3, the Anabolic Mafia, with myself, Dom Cardone, and IFBB Pro, Chris Massaro. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? So is it just Dom Cardone? Is it IFBB Pro Dom Cardone still?
No, listen, I can't. My Instagram name has IFBB, but I no longer refer to myself as a professional bodybuilder. Former IFBB.
You're more of a pro than most people I know. So
yeah, but technically no. You know, according to the IFBB, I haven't renewed my pro card. So I think if I want to compete again, I'm going to have to go back up through the regionals and the national level again. So
you better pay up.
I'm just Dom Cardone now.
Was it Ronnie Rockwell I saw like competing for his pro card again?
Yep, and I think it was because he competed in another organization.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of got the boot, if I'm correct, if I read the comments correct.
Yeah.
And he had to compete again.
He always had a pretty sick physique. He was always shredded.
Oh, he looked awesome back then. Always like, rock hard.
Crazy drop of like, because he was open, right? He was only 212 at the end, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was what a badass crop of dudes like in those years with those 212 guys and everything.
Oh, dude. And it was like not only the first call out, the second call out, every call out was, I mean, you go down the list. It's funny. Flex posted something on his Instagram the other day because people all keep saying, or have said for years, he was too scared to go into the open class. And he was like, I competed in the open class.
Yeah.
And he beat Hottie at one of the shows, I believe, in the open class. And he posted how he placed top 3 and top 5 in 2 open shows before there was even 212, I believe. And there was guys like Tony Freeman. I remember seeing the list of names.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm like, those are some good times for competing.
Yeah, that was just incredible. Like, what a friggin' time for us to grow up. Because like we got the last crop of like the 90s guys, you know, like bodybuilding was on TV still when we were kids, right? Like a little bit, like you see, like Fox Sports Net once in a while, you know. And then yeah, I remember because I remember like watching it on TV with like my grandma. Like I was like in my friggin' underwear flexing and shit, you know, like, but then it disappeared. So yeah, it must have been like 96 or something. It had to be a long time ago.
Oh, yes. You know why I remember this too? Is because in one of the Sopranos episodes, when after Vito gets killed and they're at his house visiting his wife, and one of the guys turns on the TV, and it's in the middle of the whole gay drama of why is Vito being gay, and there's bodybuilders flexing. It feels like turn that off. So yeah, it was Fox. But back to what we were saying, it was it's weird though because you feel like those guys that we watched coming up, and we watched kind of slowly filter out Ronnie, Jay, Dexter, all Tony Freeman, all those guys, and then it's like now you're like, damn, it's hard to like. I'm a fan of what's going on today in a way.
Yeah.
It's hard to connect because back then I think everybody else had like their own character and like their own aura to them.
Yeah,
like Branch was Branch, and I don't know, it was just different. I think because there was no social media.
Yeah, like because you like didn't know them. They were like an actor. Like you never see an actor like on social media really. Maybe like Matthew McConaughey is like the only one who does a podcast really, you know. But like
that's the best way to put it. Yeah, an actor.
Yeah, like they're these people that were very elusive. You never saw them in real life, and if you did see a pro bodybuilder, it's like holy shit, you know. Like now it's like I don't know. People get so I don't know, jaded isn't the word. They just get desensitized.
Desensitized. Yeah, because back then, if you wanted to meet them, you had to go to a supplement store when they did a signing or guest posing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nobody really guest poses anymore.
Yeah.
Because of social media.
Yeah, nobody's guest posing as much. But back in the day, like, that's another thing too. So back in the day, it was like your goal was to, you know, you had to do some shit to actually become some shit, you know. You had to win nationals, but it was cool. Like you heard about who did junior nationals, junior USAs, because they're like the next big thing for the nationals or the USAs, right? Mm-hmm. And that was like you knew about the up and coming pros, which is cool, or like the up and coming amateurs. Like I remember being at the gym, and Muscular Development came to like do some video footage, take some pictures of Jason before his shows and stuff. You know, that was like a big deal. And then you had like sign-on bonuses, you get these big contracts and stuff. Very, very different, you know?
Yeah, the Muscular. I remember Jason doing those shoots too. Like they built up all the websites, built up these personas and characters of all these guys. So it just
Yeah.
like you said, it made them like actors, and you're watching a movie. And yeah, it's kind of sad though. It's very sad to not be able to have that coverage of the shows and the amateur scene. I think for me, worse seeing it with the amateurs versus the pros, because that's how guys built up their career and built up their value as an athlete going into the pro level. That set them up for sponsorships. Back then, they had the magazine contracts. You had Weider contracts, muscle development contracts, which pretty good money. And then the supplement contracts.
6 figures off that. 6 figures, friggin' sign-on bonuses when you won the Nationals USAs.
Yep. And then you had your supplement contracts, which were way bigger back then.
Crazy.
Oh my God. And yeah, social media has diluted it. So, you know, even going to these shows, like who's competing at USAs? Who's competing at North Americans? And junior shows we barely hear about, you know.
At all, yeah. So I don't know. And also back then, I've talked about this before too. So in the amateur level, you remember there's levels to the shows? You remember that?
What do you mean?
So like as I learned about it in the beginning, maybe I'm wrong, but like this is what I remember. You know, my shit's getting a little fucked up from being in the military for too long. My memory.
You're also
yeah. No, but I mean, like there was levels. Like you'd have like a regional show was like a level 3, which that would qualify you to go to a national qualifier. Then they had like level 4, which you had to win like the overall to be national qualified.
You were absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah, and then level 5 was like Southern States, Junior Nationals, Atlantic States is a big one, and those were level 5. So if you won your class, you go national. So you had to really win a show to go to the next show and so on. So you had to compete a few times to get some experience. So you weren't showing up to nationals like never with like no experience. I don't know what the hell you're doing. You know, you didn't just do 2 shows. You know.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're right, because you had the lower tier regionals, and then the Easterns, Atlantic States, Southerns, those shows you always see in the heavy hitters ahead. Yeah. And then you're right, Junior USA's, Junior Nationals. That was my thing when I was a teenager. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do like the Nationals or USA until I'm like 25, 26. I wanted to do Junior Nationals when I was 21. Obviously, it skipped ahead. It was totally different. Yeah. But that's how you and I, you know, kind of came up. It's like you work your way up the ladder, and guys kind of like had to battle their way up, you know.
Yeah. Now every freaking show is a national qualifier, which like
I
don't, you know, like, you know, they talk about, oh, it's a money grab and all. Okay, well, if it's a money grab, then what if you had to compete at every level, make more money? You know, like especially if you're like a promoter who has like multiple shows or like shows in different regions. So you could do that, you know, more like a local show, like a level 3, and then you got to go to like a 4 or 5 after that. You know, like I think that'd be cool. You know,
I do think it's time to, like you're saying, pull it back, because if they start making it harder to become nationally qualified, you're going to see the regional scene light up again. Yeah. I mean, it's going to bring so much attention and way more because some of these shows have 1 competitor in each class or 3.
Yes.
And then if it's harder to become nationally qualified, you're going to have a much greater talent pool at the national level and not as many people, because it's definitely oversaturated.
Yes.
And then if it's not as many people, they can start pulling back with how many pro cards they're giving, or even they don't even have to, because it's so saturated with people that have fought to get there. Then it's like, all right, you know, you
can also the competitions are way better. Also, you have a better show. Like, I mean, I remember even like the Tampa Bay Classic was like a level 3. It wasn't a national qualifier. And that was a big freaking show. And that was like a big deal if you won that in South Florida. And it was like, oh, you won that. Now you're going to go to Southern States. And it was like people came from all over the place just to compete in Southern States.
I remember that. And it was before Teen Nationals, Southern States.
1 week before, yeah.
Yep, because I remember some guys would win that and then go to teen or collegiate nationals. It was that circuit was a big deal. That's right.
Yeah, that's what I did. I won Southern States the week prior. And then
when you did teen nationals.
When I did teen nationals, yeah. So, and that was like a good stepping stone too, because like, all right, if you can't fucking win this, we're not going to Pittsburgh. You know,
that's how it was. If you didn't win your regional show, which was saturated with good people, you knew you weren't ready. There wasn't just I'm just going to go do it anyway. You know, the level of competition was fucking fierce.
Even for us though, like it was a big deal just going to teen nationals. Like you saw, you know, the people coming up and everything. Like, you know, it was fun. It was fun for us kids.
Was the teen nationals for you like the Mr. Olympia at the time?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I talked to Jason about it because he won teen nationals back in, I don't know, like 2003 or something like that. like before us, like quite a bit before us, right? And I remember like, that's where I started, thinking I had to move to the dark side, which listen, it's probably too early, I get it, but like I saw the people who were like competing. I was like, holy shit, these guys are fucking jacked. They're not just like kids, they're men. And I was like, okay, like now it's time to look at that. But I remember I worked my fucking ass off. Like it was a full on prep, just like it was now. Like, I mean, Jason pushed me to the absolute limit. And he was like, if you can get abs in your ass, then you got a pretty good chance of winning. But he's like, there's always gonna be some motherfucker out there who's pretty good. And you and Cody were those two motherfuckers.
Yeah, I remember that show was like the Mr. Olympia for us. I wanted to win that overall since I was 15, so bad, and I couldn't get another shot at it because I was 19 when I did it. I won my class, but I lost the overall to Cody. And but it's fun. I remember being backstage doing a Dave Palumbo interview, and he goes, I thought you should have won. I was like, yeah, I mean, I can't argue with what the judges think. I just got to be better. But I was like, but I guarantee this would never happen again. And then the next, I did, what is it, a year? It was 19, 21. That's when I did the Easterns and then Nationals. But yeah, those guys, remember Cody Lewis?
Yeah,
remember
that's
Cody
the guy.
Lewis?
That's the reason why I started stepping my game up. I was like, that guy's jacked.
Ridiculous. He was peeled too. Peeled.
Like, people don't understand. Like, that guy was inside out and he was fucking 19. Crazy.
Yeah, Cody Lewis. You had Nick Medici, who was good.
I
remember Johnny Arizari, who was great in the teens. There was so many guys. Yeah, that was the stepping stone. That was our Olympia. It's a shame that has gone away too, because now it's nobody talks about the Teen Nationals, and there's like 2 people in it.
The thing that was huge. It was awesome. We were like, we got in the magazines afterwards too. Like that was
cool. Yeah.
That was awesome.
The overall winner. I don't know if they can't do it anymore, but back then the overall winner got a trip to Pittsburgh, I believe it was, to train at the Mannion's gym. I think it was Pittsburgh, and to have their own spread in Flex magazine.
Yep. I remember Cody had that shit, and I was like, damn. So
I wanted it so bad.
Yeah. So I remember seeing your ass backstage, and I was like, who the fuck is that grown man over there? Because you look older. You always look older than him. So I'm like a baby, and like I think like I said, I started lifting at 12, but I started really doing my shit around that time. Like around graduating high school is when I started really taking it seriously, And I remember you were with Oscar Arden, and I think the Kai Green movies already came out. So I think I saw him in those, right? Was he already training Kai?
Yep. He was training Kai since the late 90s.
But like redemption films and all that stuff?
So those films came out. Overkill came out when we were 16. When we were 16. And then Redemption came out after that. I believe we were 17 when that came out. So it was a few years. 25
times. Like every time I was on the Stairmaster for that show.
Every time.
And then I see Oscar backstage, and I was like, how old is that guy? I'm like, he must be doing the collegiates. And you end up starting to line up with the teams. I was like, damn, that guy's fucking huge. Because you're like over 200 pounds already, right?
I weighed in at 207.
It's fucking crazy.
I think I could have been a light heavyweight if I pushed down. But yeah, 207, and Oscar was coaching me, doing my diet and training for that show. It's funny because you and I both watched those movies, and I did the Eastern USA when I was 18, and that was like my breakout show. So the next day, I go to McDonald's with my brother Pete. Yeah. So I'm standing in line, and mind you, I never met Oscar. I knew he lived in Brooklyn. Kai. I'm standing in line, and I hear Dominic. I turn around, it's Oscar. I'm like, oh fuck. So as a young kid, I'm like embarrassed, like this guy seeing me in McDonald's the day after my show. So I order a fucking salad. He's like, do you and your brother want to eat with me and share a meal? I was like, yeah, sure. I'm mad. I'm like, oh my God. And like here I am with a McDonald's salad the day after my show. Little did I know I would get to know Oscar on a much deeper level. He would encourage me to eat later on. But that's how I got to meet and know Oscar, was the day after Easton's. I was 18. Yeah, it was a cool time.
That's freaking awesome, man. Yeah, I remember. I think it was like they were like oiling you up or something backstage. I was like,
yeah.
So if people don't know Dom, what's that?
Him and my dad.
Yeah. I
Back
didn't
then,
know that was
yeah.
your dad, but I only recognize him. I was gonna say if people, he just said that he's not a pro anymore. He's still a fucking pro to me. If people understand what you look like, your legs were better then at 19 than a lot of pros now, and like legs to waist ratio was ridiculous.
Yeah,
These are crazy fucking legs.
I had some pretty good legs. I was very prideful of my legs.
Yeah,
Even when I was 16 and I competed, I was all legs. I loved having. I didn't care about an upper body. I mean, you and I spoke about how on the podcast and in person about how we used to like to train legs. That was like my pride. Me and my dad. That was like our pride. Legs,
Yeah.
just big legs, big legs.
Tell a lot about a person with the way they train leg.
Yeah. Well, that was like in our gym. The young guys or the kids. I don't really want to call them kids, but they were a little bit older. They would come. Oh, can I get a training session with you guys? And me and my dad had this thing called the Cardone ritual, and that's how we would break them in. We would just crush them on legs.
Oh, yeah.
It was really my dad. My dad was more outgoing in the gym towards guys for the most part. So they would go up to me, we'll put you through one of you and your son's leg workouts and just crush them. It was great.
Like, and I know they say like you don't need all that now. Just you only need a couple work sets. Fuck that. I think it builds character. Just like obviously
worked for us.
It's crazy. The guys with huge legs do a lot of reps, do a lot of drop sets, a lot of fucking super sets, giant sets, all that shit. I love that stuff. Still,
it worked for us. It worked for everybody else back then.
I tried doing the lower volume thing. Yeah, I got strong, but I didn't look good. Like my legs get huge when I'm doing reps. Do
you remember at one point in your prep, I think I said, just try to increase your range of motion in some of the movements, and your volume was, and we noticed a difference within weeks of how your legs looked.
Yeah.
I think it was all off season too. Like since the 2023 show, your overall win at Junior Nationals, the goal for you was bring up your legs, bring up your back, bring up your legs, bring up your back, which I'm sure I believe we have one question about,
legs.
Your transfer into the military, then back into bodybuilding, and from all the running you did in the Army, when you came back. I mean, well, you were also straight out of selection.
Yeah, your
legs were so downsized, but so the goal of the last 2 years was to bring back your legs and back.
They're coming.
Well, it's still there's plenty more to come. Like I told you, now that you don't have to make that 225 anymore, it's like because also too, I look back at the pictures. You could see where we lost pop trying to make weight, which I knew was going to happen. If you did the super heavies, they probably would have gave you second because we saw the overall went. So I'm still glad we did the heavyweights. But now that the limiter is off and you can have a full off season now with your Hashimoto's in control and everything else, your hernia taken care of, it's like there's nothing holding you back.
No, like right now, this is ridiculous. Like everything's working. Knock on wood. It's
216 pounds on just a low dose of test.
260. Not
260. 260. Oh my God. I don't know where that came from. 260.
Well,
yes.
It's all like the food is, like I'm not starving. I'm not full. Like it's going right in me. Like there's so many measures of like when things are working, like, and everything's working right now. Like I said, knock on wood, like my digestion is good. The pump is ridiculous. My strength is going up every single week. Like these are all good signs, and it's about to get even better. Because my legs they're up like 4 inches from the show.
I saw. Yeah, I see everything. Yeah. Your back is. That's a cool thing too. Is like your back and your glutes, your ass shots is what like broke the internet. Yeah. Now when we make your pro debut, we can really showcase that wow fat blasting full, but with a ton of new muscle. And of course, your trademark conditioning,
Yeah, no more sleeper build,
and no more running either.
Yeah, no more fucking running. I haven't ran in a minute. The last time I ran was like the end of 2024, just to see what my 1 mile was, and that was a mistake. That fucking hurt. Hey, 6 minute mile though, not bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing, actually.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, there was an airplane.
Okay, I don't know how good the speaker is, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I heard it. It was good.
Yeah, I had to open up the window. It's so hot upstairs here. Like it's like 40 degrees outside in the morning, and then I'm gonna sweat my ass off now.
You're good. I can't hear anything else. So you're good.
All right. But yeah, on that note, we can get into the fact of that was one of the questions. I'll bring it up here about like what we did to because we did work together, go from bodybuilding to not bodybuilding, and then get into the military. 1 second here. Here. So, yeah. How do you go from bodybuilding shape to army shape and then back? So, I mean, it was a long road. So 2018. So 2018 was when we were doing nationals, so I came into nationals not at this level of not at this level of lean as I was this year, right? But it was pretty fucking lean. I was in the upper 220s because we had to push to make weight that year. I remember because I think I had to hit the sauna like last minute, which like we would never do, but like we had to do something. So I'm a fucking water buffalo. So yeah, we did that, and then I was in a rough relationship, so I promised I wouldn't bodybuild anymore. I'm like, hey, if I don't make it, I don't make it. I won't bodybuild anymore. So then I basically just like kind of stopped. I was like, well, I got off social media. I wasn't like lifting the same, and I didn't do shit for a while. Like I lifted a little bit, but like eventually it was just like in my garage, and then I decided I always want to join the military. If people don't know the past, like I didn't end up joining the military, did other things, own businesses, all that kind of stuff. But also my mother was sick for a long time. So like leaving her wasn't an option, with my dad having to work out of state to make sure that he had good insurance to take care of her. Like I was one of the main people around to be able to take care of her. So I couldn't like leave to join the military. And then finally it became time, when she was passing to like start getting ready to do it. And I was like, I still want to join. So I was originally trying to join the Marines, and I was about 265 pounds at the time when I walked in the recruiter's office. If people want to know what I looked like walking in this recruiter's office, I had a beard bigger than Dom's. I was doing what was I doing? I think I was doing like estimates for construction, and I was to like go to bad neighborhoods. So I'm strapped up with a pistol. I had to take the pistol out to go in the freaking recruiter's office, and then the guy's like, "Why do you look like a villain from a B-rated movie?"
That's right. You did have a beard.
Yeah, like a long beard. My,
yes.
Tight shirt, my tactical pants and everything, like an idiot. Yeah. So, and he's like, "You want to join the Marines?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you weigh?" And I stepped on the scale, like 267. He's like, "All right, how tall are you?" I'm like 5'8", and he's like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "I'm about 5'8". And then he's like, "All right, well, you actually have to be like 189, but you can get a waiver for 199 and then like another waiver for like 209." And I was like, I can get down to 209. So
yeah,
I called you up, and without my ex-wife knowing, because she did not like you, she just didn't like me doing anything that I had fun with or made me happy.
Right.
So yeah, we started working, and I don't think you were really in charge of my like cardio so much because I just started running like a madman. But you covered.
To be clear, we just tried to starve you as much as possible at the time with no gear because you were huge and you had to make weight. Now, I think we would have wanted to went a little bit smarter and strategic if that was today.
Yeah.
But it was like back then, it was like, get your weight down, get your weight down, get your weight down.
This was about a year after competing at this point, probably. And pretty much at one point, we're basically just eating kind of keto, but still with barely any fats. I was eating like some meat, some berries, like not a lot. I think Chris, I kept reading like 1,000 calories.
You were eating nothing.
Yeah, it was like literally nothing. Yeah. Like, and I can put the food down. And there was no Reddit Truth Diet back then, all right? So like I was just starving myself. And not to mention this, okay? So when I started running, okay, my block was 0.4 miles. Okay. They said, all right, you gotta be able to run 2 miles in like 15 minutes to even make it into the Marines. But my crazy ass, like, okay, I'm gonna sign a 0321 contract. But people don't know what that is. That's Marine Recon. It's fucking hard. It's like, it's not special operations, but it's pretty fucking special. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to do that. What's the hardest thing you have? I'll just do that. I want to be with people who are hard hitters. I couldn't even make it around my block running. I ran like 3 quarters around. My shins hurt so bad, my knees, my back. I started like tearing up. I'm like, what are you, fucking nuts? Yeah. Then I was like, whatever. I'll just kind of jog my way home. And then I just did that again, like maybe the next day until I could make it all the way around. And then it was like a random mile, and then 2 miles. And eventually, like, I got to the point where I was running like 100 miles a week, like a madman. Because I think we all go through that fucking David Goggins era where we're like listening way too much to him saying, you know, stay hard and everything. So I was just destroying myself.
Pretty much. Literally, you were.
Yeah. And I found out later I really was. Yeah. So I'd start out every Monday with, I run either a half marathon or a marathon every Monday. And it was 26.4 miles from my house to my dad's house. So a little bit longer than a marathon. So I just run up there and he'd give me a ride home later. So my dad will see you in like 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. So I did that. And then I'd bike up there too, but I was doing at least 10 miles a day, if not more, barely lifting. And then I would do like some kind of cross training bullshit workout just to like get some kind of stimulus. And then, yeah, it took me a long time, but I lost all the weight and eventually got down to like 199 on the dot. And they wouldn't take me in because of tattoos. So, you know, I guess they changed that rule.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Like I had like a ton of waivers for tattoos and my weight and everything. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Let me see what the Army has. And then a friend of mine talked to a friend of his who reached out to me, and he was a Green Beret. And he's like, you ever think about doing that? I'm like, well, what is that? I heard about him like with Rambo, but like, what are the Green Berets? And then told me about it. And I was like, that seems pretty cool. I'm like, I'll try that out. Like, probably still had no business at the time, but yeah. So, yeah, joined the Army, kept running, got pretty fast. You know, I was able to run like a 5-minute mile by the end of it after not even be able to run a half a mile. So that's pretty freaking cool. And then, also found out when I took X-ray or like MRI or whatever with the contrast, they show you like where calcium shows up. I had stress fractures from my hips all the way to my feet, all over my legs from running.
Because you were an elephant running 30, 40 miles.
With terrible form, like just all heel strikes the whole time. Like the fractures in my vertebrae, fractures in my pelvis, all the way down. They're all healed. I'm good to go now, but well, mostly.
For the most part.
Yeah. And then fast forward, did the all the basic training shit, go to airborne school. If people wondering why I'm getting out now, that's for being a bodybuilder. Like in airborne school, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I had like a parachute malfunction where like instead of it being like this, it's like this, like a cigar, and it was dark out because we do a night jump. I didn't know. I was too stupid to pull my reserve, so like barely popped open when I hit the ground. So ended up hurting my hips. I had 2 fractured femurs from that, and then moved on. There's like special forces prep course, went on to the special forces selection, and failed because of those injuries, because I ended up where I couldn't walk afterwards. And that's when I called Don. I said, hey, why don't we do a bodybuilding show? He didn't know all this.
I did not. Yeah, I thought you were. I'm like, all right, yeah, we can make this happen. Yeah, it was and it was regional show, right? And then junior nationals, and you won the overall junior nationals within 6 months. 6 months, dude. I still have those pictures. You were like this.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. Like, to everybody watching, literally like this. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure he could get the muscle back. He was huge at one point. We could do it again. And the original intention of you doing junior nationals was to be a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? So I'm like, okay, I know he's going to grow. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, so I was 239.8 the day I left for selection. And I lost 30 pounds, and I was just under 210 when I left. So I was eating everything I could in sight to just gain something back. And I was probably in the 2 teens when we started talking.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. So I'm like, okay, you'll be able to make light heavyweights. Well, you start weight training again, start eating like a bodybuilder, and start taking things, but you weren't taking a lot. You went up to like the 220, stood around there.
Hold on one sec. You need me?
No, I was going to say you did the other show first.
Yeah, I know. She said I did the other show first. She didn't hear that part.
Yeah. Oh,
we already have our first listener. She's downstairs.
Gets the sneak peek. So, and then I remember you were 216, 217, pretty much shredded. And it was a different even though you were around it, you didn't look anything like you looked at USA's. But I'm like,
He
dude,
was like a lean, like kind of athlete. You know, it wasn't no.
but I'm like, dude, I don't think we're gonna make light heavyweights. You're like, yeah, I don't think so either. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, we're just gonna do the heavyweights. You're already pretty much in shape. You did the heavyweights. You won your classic junior nationals. You won the overall, which was awesome. And that's when we're like 2 years USA's pro card, and you
Yeah.
made it happen. So it was a cool journey.
Yeah, it was a long fucking road. It was worth it though. It was really cool. And if anybody needs motivation, yeah, you can literally do whatever you want. You want to make $1 million, you make $1 million. You want to be able to run a marathon, you can fucking do it if you got legs, you know. But I'm just saying, like, you really can do anything if you put your mind to it. And when I say put your mind to it, I mean, like, if that is the only thing on your mind and you almost lose sleep over it every single night, you can do it. And that's how it was when I was getting ready for selection. I couldn't sleep because I think about the run I was going to do in the morning, and then I was going to run again after that, and then I was going to run again after that. Like, I was constantly thinking about it. And then when it came to competing again, I put all that shit down, and I was like, okay, I need to gain the function of my legs back because if people don't, like I said, I re-injured my hip pretty badly at selection, and after the parachute accident or whatever the fuck, you know. But I didn't think about it. I didn't think about the excuse. I didn't think about the pain. All I thought about every single fucking day was that competition. And that was it. I obsessed over it. And that was it. The only way you can be. You know, the same thing when we, you know, started this prep again. Like, that's all I thought about. In a healthy way. I'm not crazy, you know, like I love lifting. I love training. You love everything about it. You look forward to it. That's it.
And you make it happen.
Yeah.
You don't just say you're going to do it. You don't just say you're going to do it. No. You do it. You do it full force of your best of your ability. And then whenever you have any roadblocks or you have to climb up a mountain a little more, you just pivot like you did with, you know, the things that have happened over the last few years. So
best ways through, right?
That's right.
So that's how that happened. I guess we'll talk about this next question because it's kind of pertains to the same thing.
Cool.
Someone asked, how do you get down in weight or better shape for a PFT? So
can we hit pause real quick?
Yeah.
I got to use the bathroom again real quick.
Oh,
I got an IV today.
Nice. Well, while he's gone, I'm still gonna be filming. Yeah, it's a question I get quite a lot, and this one says down in weight. So if people who are in the military, there is a height and weight standard. Okay, I know in the Army that if you score like a 460 out of 500 or better, something like that, 465, you don't have to worry about the height and weight so much. But if you are trying to lose weight, it's the same kind of thing. It's calories in versus calories out is going to be. I always tell people, if you're not trying to be like a bodybuilder, you're not trying to overthink it. Think protein first. Setting your carbohydrates around your workout. You should be doing cardio every single day of the week. Maybe one day off if you're going to train heavy legs, and then you should be lifting, I'd say 5 to 6 times a week. You know, especially if you're in the military, you know, you should expect more out of your body because you should expect more out of yourself if you're in the field. So.
Can you hear me?
I did a quick little outline while you were gone, but
Cool.
yeah. So I just went over the basics. It is calories in, calories out. I tell people think protein first. If you're not a bodybuilder, just think protein first. I always said center your carbohydrates around your workout. It's the most important thing. That's what we did when I was starving myself. But a lot of people have to make a certain height and weight for. Like, I know the Army has like height and weight standards. I don't know what it is for the Navy or the Air Force. None of them seem in shape anyway. So they're standards. So if you don't score high enough on your PFT, then those standards matter a lot more. But to me, it's more just like just get in freaking shape and you'll lose weight anyway. So
it's gonna come.
Yeah. So yeah, that I always say you should be doing cardio 6 or 7 days a week. If it's leg day, you know, maybe don't do cardio that day, but you should be doing cardio every single day. For me, what got me in the best shape was I ran no matter what. This is when I went to a running coach and I learned how to run faster and I got better and I actually learned how to recover. I run 3 times a week. I do a sprint day. I do a medium distance, very high perceived rate of exertion. So like I run like 90% max effort or 100%, like 2 miles or 3 miles, maybe a little warm up and cool down. And then the last day I would do like a long distance slow run, like a 9 or a 10-minute pace, which is like slower than what's comfortable. So now you're actually working your calves and your quads a little bit, your glutes, like you're actually having to work your muscles because you're running so freaking slow. And you're running for like 50 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes. You know, you just run 30 minutes that way and then turn around. Like don't worry about how fast you're going. Just it should be slow. Like you should be able to sing while you're doing it. And then other than that, I still did cardio. So if I ran 2 miles in, let's just say 14 minutes, a 7-minute mile, and I wanted to do 40 minutes total of cardio, I still have to go back and do stairs later to make that 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's not for bodybuilding, is how I got in shape for the Army. So what do you think you can do for fighters?
Or if you're just an everyday person who just wants to get in shape too.
Yeah.
That'll do it. I mean, well, fighters are a bit different. I mean, but what you just said, like what you learned from your running coach, I know the Russians who are mainly have their wrestling base there. I mean, you have all those different energy systems in fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Russians specifically, I know like they have one day of hill sprints, just hill sprints. Then they have their moderate intensity running day that's probably up and down, and then just one long and flat, terrain. So it's the same thing. You're training all those different energy systems, which is applicable to military, martial arts, combat sports in general, but even to everyday human beings. So it's the same thing. Like I said, different, adaptations, but it's very similar.
Yeah, and I'll add on that too. So yeah, you're hitting all your energy systems, and the rest of it is like low intensity cardio. You're not trying to beat up your knees and your shins and everything, like I said I did to myself before. That is not the way to do it. You need to be able to recover, and I know we talked about last time, like what exactly is overtraining. Like, yeah, there's still an ideal amount. You don't need to be hurting yourself.
Well, especially with that, because I mean, I think people don't really think about this because nobody really does cardio like that. Cardio is still stress in the body. Mm-hmm. So now add in a 260-pound man or somebody that hasn't run before, trying to run 1, 2, 3 miles that have never ran before, aside from the cardiovascular strain and the lungs feeling things they never felt. Like you are a perfect example, the stress in the joints, and you're damaging your knees, your hips, your lower back. And that does lead to overtraining, which best. What happens to guys in selection? Yeah, they're overtrained as fuck. That's real overtraining. It's different than stepping into a gym and lifting
rhabdo. You see rhabdo all the time in selection.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So much different than stepping into a gym and lifting something from point A to point B. So it's different stress. It's still stress, but a different level of stress in the system.
Yeah, and you can get a whole lot out of more like moderate to low intensity, steady state cardio. And I tell everyone steps too, like get 10,000 steps a day. You wouldn't believe how little amount of steps a lot of people get. True. It makes it different. It really does.
Makes a bit. And before any of this step stuff was popular, nobody was talking about step. Ross was doing it 2020.
I remember watching.
And then I was like, what's this step stuff? Like, well, just do your cardio. He never likes to stay still. That's why this past surgery drove him nuts. But especially 2023, he was doing steps. He goes, Dom, is it okay if I do these steps? I'm like, yeah, sure. Go for your walks. I'm not going to tell you not to walk. I'm not going to tell you to sit inside. And was death. That's when I was like, okay, wow. He got peeled. Aside from everything else, doing this on top of his regular cardio. I mean, it drives up your knee. So it has to do something, right?
Yeah. And like right now, we're doing 8,000 steps a day and 20 minutes of steady state cardio.
But on the steady state, you're monitoring your heart rate.
Yes. Yeah. It's like we do 120 to 130 on that. But like even the 4 weeks between my regional show and the USA's, we were doing, I think, 8 or 10,000 steps still, but only like 15 minutes of cardio. And it was only when you told me to also. It wasn't even every day at that point.
Do you remember why? Do you remember how we came to that decision?
No, I don't remember.
You got sick. Sick.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you're pretty much in shape. I'm like, just rest over the next few days. And you would rest. And then I'm like, oh my God, you look a lot better right now. I'm like, wait a second. If you look better from doing nothing, I'm like, let's take out the cardio. You just train. I bumped your food way up at that point. And
Mhm.
then at that point, your body was in that point where, okay, we have to update pretty much every day. And we were
Yeah.
updating every day.
Yeah.
So, and before anybody gets their panties in a bunch, why don't you update me every day? Your physique was at a certain point where it needed to, where we could either really overdo it or
Mhm.
we needed to make sure because you were changing, I mean, rapidly like that. So you would wake up and be, okay, no cardio today, just get your steps in, just train or complete rest. And the steps, though, did keep you. Imagine if you were just sitting around all day doing nothing.
Yeah. No, and also
It
it's
wouldn't
driving me
be,
nuts.
yeah, and it wouldn't be it's going to cause stress in you because you're going to be going crazy over sitting around all day. And two, if you're just sitting around doing nothing at all, it's not going to, it wouldn't have worked,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
So
it was
that's
great.
start you again. Yeah.
Yeah, we fucking hit the nail on the head, and I think we're finding out some new really finding out some new formulas here that work for. That's what I'm saying. We still are learning. We're still learning, not just like what works better for me, but like I'm finding new ways to work things better with my clients and stuff. Like, yeah, there's always room to learn a little bit more, and this prep was freaking great. You
Well,
know, and
it's
my
never
stress
ending
level
evolving.
was it.
We always have to evolve. There's
Yes.
never going to be a point where in body or anything really, but especially bodybuilding coaching where I know everything. There's nothing new I can do at this point. It's impossible in every single way because your prep that you did this point, okay, we can sit here and go on a whiteboard and write. We could make a book on Chris's 2025 USA prep. List everything in detail. It does not mean that when Chris does his pro debut, okay, let's just follow the book. It doesn't work like that. There
No.
may be some foundational principles that we can apply, but your
Yeah.
body's going to be different than what it was. And that goes for everybody. There's nobody could follow the
No.
exact prep they did last time. So in bodybuilding coaching is always going to be ways that we have to look for to evolve our strategies. That's why I know some people behind the scenes have kind of like snickered at me talking about like certain peptides and retatrutide and this and that. I've said it on a past podcast that I was ignorant at the time.
Yeah.
We have to find ways to evolve, either be with training, nutrition, pharmacological purposes, items, stuff like that. So it's always going to be evolving.
1,000%. What was I gonna say too? I don't know, but yeah, you're constantly finding new ways to make it better and easy. Oh yeah, I was gonna say like yeah, because of that constant evolution and learning and figure out what works better for me and try new shit. I remember texting a certain point like, hey, like this is really easy. Like I felt like guilty because I was like, I'm so chill right now. Like I keep getting leaner. Is this cool? Like you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna get worse. And I'm like, all right. And it got a little harder, but I was like, all right, it was just like fucking in the zone the whole time. Obviously there's a lot of outside things that make it better, like having an amazing, partner, Andrea, makes my whole life fucking way easier.
Mhm.
Having a good training partner, all this kind of stuff. But like, yeah, everything was just like smooth sailing. It was great.
I remember you saying that, and I'm like, I told you, yes, it was going to get harder and it's normal, but also too, there's always that alarm that goes off in my head when somebody says this is so easy. I'm like, wait, I'm like, no, because most of the time, whenever we've heard that in the past, they just don't look for where they should be. If it's easy at this point, it's happened before. Like I had this one guy I was coaching a couple years ago, and he's like, yeah, this prep is so, and he's getting fatter and fatter. He's not getting leaner, and like he's like getting somewhat of a like false drug hardness. And I remember a week out, he goes, my sex drive is so high right now. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, a week out. I mean, you definitely don't look the way he competed. And I'm like, no. I'm like, there's no way. I remember getting on a call with this guy, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, what happened? I'm like, you want to go to USA's? I'm like, you're not ready. I'm like, what did you do this? Oh, stress. I would stop and eat at McDonald's. And then, well, no wonder why it was so easy. Yeah. So when you said that, and it's always that little thing in the back of my head, I'm like, why is it so easy? But in your situation, in the past, we were doing 2 hours of cardio a day, starving you, and you feel like death, but also too, who knows what's going to happen next time? Plus too, your standard is much higher than most, and your level of easy is much different than most because you've done things in your life now that will crush anybody within 2 hours. Never mind it being your career. So it was different. But yeah, I remember hearing easy. I'm like, oh, what's going on here?
I didn't want to bring it up. I'm like, I would check over my plan. So every time you send me a plan, I would copy it and send it to Andrea. So I never missed anything, I didn't want to miss anything on this. So we'd scan it. I'd scan it. She'd scan it. I'd print it out, just put it on the fridge. Like, even though I already knew what it was, I'd still look every time I made a meal. Like, is you sure? Is this right? Like, that's how, like, I have to be. That's how, like, I feel so much shame if I do something wrong. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself if you do something wrong. I don't know. That's how
I want to say this. I wish I could scream it right now. You and a handful of other of my clients never do anything else without telling me, even if it's a fucking supplement. Like, you tell me everything. And I was the same way I didn't even take pre-workout or Advil in my
How many times did I ask you, hey, is hyperbolic still okay? Hey, is it okay?
Mm-hmm. Everything. Sauces, like, if you had a certain shift at work you had to do, like, you literally made sure with everything. And you never consumed anything without telling. I was the same exact way. And that's why it frustrates the hell out of me when I get guys that change stuff on their own or take something different than I tell them to take. And then it's like, when we go through things, I'm like, why would you do this? I'm like, I list these products for a reason. I'm not listing these products just because I have a code on them. I believe in them, obviously. I know what the formulations in them are. It's applicable to what we're doing. Then with the foods, I'm eating this instead. Why would you eat that instead? It's written on your paper. You're paying. You pay me. People pay you to write things on a paper for you to follow. I did the same thing. I don't know why that logic is so hard to
and yet, like,
follow.
Listen, bodybuilding is expensive. I'm telling you right now, the most expensive thing in my whole thing is my dietary supplements. Okay, but look at my blood work. It's pretty fucking good. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good during prep. We were taking bloods during prep a bunch of times for my thyroid and everything, but obviously we check my sodium levels, my potassium, all that kind of shit. And it was good, right? Like, because I fucking follow the plan. I spend the money on the plan. This is what I invested in this physique, and it's paying me back now. So people wonder, oh man, I want to be able to make money off it. I want to be able to be successful. I want to win. Okay, well, you're not doing the fucking shit to win. And part of doing the shit is investing.
I think you'll agree with this.
Yeah.
The people that if they don't follow one part of it, let's say the supplements, right? Mm-hmm. They do whatever they want for the supplements. 95%, 98% of the time, if they're not following the supplements, it's probably the same thing with the diet and the cardio and the training. And I notice a trend with these people too. Usually these people check in late, multiple times. And if you look at how these people look, how they look reflects on how they've approached the program. And there's, of course, stuff that they don't tell us, but you look at it and you can only ask so many times, like, are you really doing everything? Yeah, just the stuff I told you about.
What else can I do? What else can I do? I'm like,
why are you adding other stuff in the first place? Are you really sure you're following everything? You did change this stuff. What stopped you from changing other stuff? So it's funny how things work.
Yeah. And I'll say this. You said this before. The formulations. Listen, the reason I tell people to get stuff from here, okay, I don't tell them to get everything. I don't take everything. But there's a lot of shit from Steel I trust. That's why I'm with them. I'm not just – you think I don't get offers by other companies? Yes, I do. And
Chris, I'm like, how long have you been with Steel?
Years. But I've known the owner for 15 or 16 years.
It's a long time you've been with them. Yes. That says everything right there.
Yes. Yes, they take care of me and everything. But, like, the main thing is I actually use their shit. Okay? Like, there's a reason why Hyperbolic is $170. Okay? People don't know. Okay? Yeah, use my code, save 10%. But it's fucking expensive. Shameless plug. I don't care.
What's your code?
Code CMAS. But yes, because it's very, very good shit. Okay? Like, they don't just have vitamin C, it's liposomal. They don't just have CoQ10, it's liposomal. Like, all these little things, there's a reason why I put them in. And I do recommend things from other companies too. And Steel doesn't have them, and there's just a product that I need. Like, I always will I'll always put in like Omega Gin for Omegas because it's equal EPA to DHA. It's the only one that I know and trust that's good. I'm not sponsored by them, but I know it's good and I know I can trust it. So when I see people's cholesterol being a little off or something like that, I'm like, are you taking your fish oils? And they're like, I take one of them. I'm like, all right, well, I put 4 on there, or I put 8.
Or I
Yeah,
take the
why not?
brand. I take the brand I got at Costco.
Yeah, I take the Costco ones. I'm like, okay, that's not the one I put on there. There's a reason why I put it on there. Are you taking your vitamin C? No, I'm not. Or I take this one. I'm like, there's a reason why I have that one. I'm like, and also you'll save money. Are you taking? I make my clients use plain whey isolate. Like, oh well, I'm using MRE light. I'm using MRE protein. I'm like, that's not whey isolate. I'm using this concentrate from fucking Walmart. I'm like, okay, well, that's not the same. Why do you think your stomach hurts? Why do you have diarrhea?
And what these people don't, and listen, it's ignorance too, and just not knowing.
Yeah.
Dante, I think a couple of months ago, posted about this. There has been a massive uptick in the last few years with um, fake health supplements, like even with vitamins, minerals, fish oils. People think, oh, it's fish oil. It's the same thing. No, it's not. It could be rancid. It could not meet up the label claims. A lot of these things aren't tested. I don't we don't recommend these things just to put money in our pockets. It is people, one of the biggest brands there is in the commodity market for vitamins and supplements, NutriCost. A lot of their products came up bad when they got tested. There's a lot of these companies that are now being tested third party by outside. I think it's Consumer Report. I forgot the website. There's a website that actually logs all these things you become a member on. That these products have come up. Nattokinase, another one. A lot of the brands are no good. They either don't meet up to the dosing claims in some of these supplements, or it's just not in there at all. So
listen, when I used to work, one of my first jobs, I worked at Complete Nutrition. And first of all, these stores would be selling natural testosterone boosters, or just selling fucking steroids. So people don't know, back when we were kids, you could just buy steroids in the store. It's crazy. Yeah, they called them pro hormones, but they were just trend in a pill. And I'm not kidding about that. It was nuts. But yeah, so I know that they would test other companies' products. They'd be like, oh, 30 grams of protein, 2 grams of sugar. They come back with 10 grams of protein, crazy amino spikes in there too, and 20, 30 grams of sugar in a scoop. Or very simply, I'm like, okay, if there's 20 grams of protein, but the scoop is 40 grams, what's the other shit? What else is in here? It doesn't take a rocket science. If your ingredient list is this big for fucking protein, you don't need dried milk in there and all this other bullshit. No, it should be 3 or 4 things. That's it. You don't need to have 75 things for fucking protein.
No.
And it's cheaper. That doesn't make sense. You're putting more ingredients in it. That doesn't, why would not just put protein?
It's cheaper. One of the most expensive supplement in the market because of manufacturing since COVID. It's cheaper. What's it? Like you said, what's in it? And I think these people think, oh, it's sold in a store, so it's probably going to be what it is. It's not a drug. The supplement industry isn't regulated. They don't have testing guidelines. The government isn't testing these products to make sure that they meet up the product claims. You brought up I remember it was a big thing back then. I think it was I owned a supplement store 2011 to 2016. 2012-ish, I think, was when the amino spiking thing was finally coming because Isoflex was from ProSups at the time. Was it ProSups? No, it wasn't ProSups. Isoflex. It tasted so good. It used to get a 5-pound thing for $60, $70, $60. They were aminos. A lot of these companies were amino spiking back then. And people were so shocked, oh my God. Some of the companies aren't meeting up the label claims.
Well, so if people don't know what amino spiking is, so they'll put other things like glutamine, even creatine nowadays, and it tests positive for the amount of nitrogen that you would expect out of, let's say, 25 grams of protein, but there's only 10 or 15 grams of actual complete protein in there. And then they'll put the rest as just glutamine, and they'll say, oh, 10 grams of glutamine per scoop. Okay, but if there's 25 grams of protein and 10 grams of glutamine, why is it not 35 grams? It doesn't make sense.
Or other mixed aminos that don't make up for
was it tyrosine, protein. I think.
I forgot what they were.
Some other shit,
but they would jack up the amino profile.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't equal the complete protein requirements for it to be a protein. But that was a real thing. But so anybody out there, don't skimp on your supplements because they're faker than ever right now.
Yeah. And speaking of fake, the other thing I see is these meal prep companies, when they say, oh, there's 50 grams of protein and this many carbs and everything, or this many calories. I'm like, first of all, I'm looking at the amount of chicken that's in there, and it looks like there's fucking 2 ounces, and I'm like, that's weird. And then I'll just add up okay, so if there's this much protein, this much carbs, that much fats, I know how much those calories would be, and then they're saying is this much calories, but it's really this much calories. You're just lying. Like it's crazy.
There's not. They do never meet up to the claims they're meeting with the protein on those
Yeah.
meal prep companies.
Yeah. And I'll say, so on that note too, a lot of people come to me about like tracking their food. Listen, you don't want to have a coach, but you still want to get results. You want to track food. That's great. That's fine. And yeah, you can use MyFitnessPal or whatever. But make sure you use this. Listen, it doesn't matter if you say that your 4 ounces of chicken is fucking 40 grams of protein or 50. It's a matter of use the same thing on that app every single time if you're going to use it. Okay. But the way I did it when I was younger, we didn't have an app. Okay.
No.
I had a spring scale with this much protein or this much chicken. I said I needed to have like 4 ounces or whatever, 5 ounces of chicken, and I would do 1 cup of rice. And if it wasn't getting bigger, I would do a cup and a quarter. I would do a cup and a half. I kept my protein the same, and I would add more. Oh, I got to get leaner. I'll do 3/4 of a cup. I would do half a cup. That's literally how I bodybuild before, like Jason actually taught me what everything means. It worked. That's it.
Worked. Yeah.
I didn't know what my fucking macros were. I just said I'm gonna eat every 2 hours. I'm awake, and I'm gonna get big.
I never knew what my macros were.
No.
Ever. None of my coaches gave them to me because I didn't matter.
So yeah, on that note, do you off the top of your head like just know the calories? Do you know how many calories I eat?
No.
Yeah, I don't fucking know either.
No.
I can take a guess, but
no. I'll take a guess, or maybe I'll put it in ChatGPT to tell me to give it an estimated. So that's what I do sometimes. My high, like with my high days, it'll be a little more, a little less. But that's how I've done it for 16 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Listen, I know how much is in a 200 grams of white rice or 6 ounces of whatever.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't. I'm not going to say, okay, Chris was 255 today. Well, I'm going to remove 200 calories and
this much percent of a death visit.
No, listen. Now, some people may say, "Well, why don't you do that?" There's so many wins that I can't even keep count of. Why would I change it now?
Mm-hmm.
It may work for some people. Like what I will say, who it works for is like fighters who follow more of a flexible diet, where they aren't looking for a specific look and they are literally calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
They're not on performance enhancing drugs,
Yeah.
so all that kind of goes out the window. But yeah, no, I don't sit here and say, we need this. It's all because based off the top of my head, I can estimate and look at your meal plan and see how much. This 8 ounce of protein, 50 grams of whey, 350 grams of egg whites. I know how much we're taking. It's how I've always done it.
Yes. Like it's all memorized by now. Like I do have I'm pretty sure I still have it, like an Excel spreadsheet of like what things are. But I don't fucking use that. Like I still change people's plans by measurement. And
that's what I do.
I generally know how much. Yeah, I generally know how much protein is in X amount of ounces or grams of this much meat or whatever. But like the only time I've checked calories is like I have someone who is just lifestyle, or they're just like for a very small female, and I'm like, let me just
that's a good one.
Let me just check how many calories she's really eating. Like let's say she's a small woman and she's on a GLP or something. I'm like, let me just make sure she's not eating like fucking 500 calories, something crazy. Like I want to make sure she's fed. And then like you're like, oh well, what's the calculation for the resting metabolic rate? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing either. I want to do protein so she doesn't die. Okay, like if she weighs this much, I should give her about this much protein. It's not that deep. Okay, like you're trying to retain muscle mass and lose fat. It's not that fucking hard. So
yeah, no, this is the AI.
Yeah, not that hard for us. There's so much shit downloaded in here for
This is the AI.
Yeah, it'll never be as good as me. I promise you, it's not gonna be as good because I can look at you, I can see what you need because of your skin. Like AI doesn't see that.
No, it's a lot different.
How many times have you said, "No, don't worry, Chris. I can see through that. I can see through the glare, like at the gym, whatever. I'll take a picture in different lighting."
Many times, like my client Caleb, I don't know, he'll probably watch this. He sent me his back shot today. He goes, "Yeah, I know it came through a little, I think it compressed or whatever he said through WhatsApp." I'm like, I could see it. It's all good. I could see through for the most part bad pictures and bad lighting. If I really want to know, I'll tell people take stuff in multiple lightings, take it in the gym, whatever. But doing it half my life, I can look at somebody and say, okay, no, I can see what's going on. You're fine.
I could see if there's some swelling or some inflammation and stuff. But what about all these people taking pictures in the dark right now?
I think they call that goon lighting.
Oh my god, it's so fucking dumb.
I'm
And then
pretty
now they're on the little light, like turn all the lights off and put a little light above your head. Like,
Yeah, that's actually an advertisement on social media.
yeah,
It's like this long, and you can like put it on things, and you can like pose in the dark.
they're gonna be like, "Oh man, I was gonna reach out to you to promote my product." I'm like, yeah, well,
But meanwhile, it usually was finding the most well lit area that you could be in.
that's why I did it with the door. So I had the
Yeah.
outside lighting coming in, so you actually see what I look like.
That door was great.
If everybody wants to know how fucking nuts I am, I'll be in prep, and I'm like, I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, hey, like, take some pictures with Don, and I'm like, fuck, I look better than that. Just do it again. I know I look better than that. And then I'll take some good pictures, I'll send over to you, and then I'll look at them later on. I'm like, do I actually look that good? No, like I'm so crazy. I say I look better first, and I look at my picture later on. I'm like, damn, that's got to be. Is it altered? Make sure there's no lighting fucked up. I don't want it to look like I altered it. And I'm like, nuts.
That's why I tell my guys, don't analyze the pictures. Just let me do that. Just let me do that.
Yeah.
'Cause think about it. If you weren't as experienced as you are, if you weren't as experienced as you are, you would look at those pictures and be, oh my God, my glutes are soft today. Oh my God, my lower back is, or oh, I look so small today. And then you're adding up all these things. I don't like how now. Have we done that before? Yeah. Earlier on, absolutely. I remember I did it early on. And then after my first show, I'm like, I ain't gonna even pay attention to how I look. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a problem that I face with my guys who aren't as experienced. I'm so flat today. I don't like how I look. It's normal. You're not always going to like how you look.
Flatness. Everyone says they're flat. I'm like, no, you're not.
It used to be a lot worse. There was an era, a phase in bodybuilding social media pictures where everybody, I'm flat. They would have to post.
Yeah, because I went all over the internet saying, shut the fuck up. You're not fucking flat.
Everybody's flat. I'm flat. It was like it was a weird phase,
Also, like, yeah, everyone, you go through a little skinny fat phase. That doesn't mean you're flat though. Like I remember Jason telling me when he was like peeled for a show. I think he was like doing the Tampa Pro or some shit like that. But he was jacked, obviously. But like, you want to know what flat is? And he like flexed his muscle, and his finger like mushed into his muscle. It wouldn't get hard. He's like, "This is what fucking flat is." And I was like, "Oh." And he explained to me about like how estrogen is involved with it, your sodium, and there's so many factors that make you become flat. And I was like, "Oh, that's what flat is." And then he showed me like after he pumped up, like I was like, "Oh, that's what that means." Yes. Are you going to be full all the time? No, but that doesn't mean you're like flat. Like
no, you need to get flat and look like shit to get peeled for a show too.
Yes,
you have to.
Everyone's trying to obsess about staying full the whole time. Like, no, you gotta get flat.
That's another problem too, that people don't listen. They don't know. So people don't realize it. With experience, it comes. They're like, oh, I was so much fuller this year than 2 years ago. I would hope you were fuller 2 years later, because that means you put muscle on. A lot of people are trying to talk about fullness when they just need more muscle. You're not that big. I promise you, I felt so flat. No, you're just not that big. You need more muscle. 2 years later, oh my God, I'm like 10 pounds heavier. I'm so much fuller. No, you have more muscle. I hope you feel fuller in 2 years or 3 years because you put more muscle on. So that's the thing too, is a lot of people don't know what flat is. It's also a visual thing too. You look at somebody's physique, certain details and certain body parts that they have when they're full are not there when they are flat either. But you have to go through that phase and in numerous parts throughout the prep to really get conditioned for a show.
Yeah. And on that note too, so I've heard about people complaining about how like, man, like what's peak week going to be like? They constantly ask about peak week, or they told me like, yeah, how their coach just wasn't there for them enough. Like, listen, yes, your coach should be there for you throughout your peak. Okay. Like, I'm not saying that's okay, but also if you haven't been following the plan, if you didn't put any weight on in the off season, there's no amount of filling up that can make you look like you put 10 pounds of muscle on. Sorry. You got to actually do the fucking work in the off season. 2, you have to be shredded. Okay. If you're not shredded, like when Jace told me you have to have abs in your ass, if you're not shredded, there's no amount of filling out and cutting water that's going to make you shredded. Like
Yeah.
if you still have body fat, if you try to fill out, you're just going to look watery and shitty. It's not going to be better.
Chris Aceto had this saying. It was, you can be full, you can feel full, but still be flat. You can be flat and feel full. What she's saying is, who cares about how you feel? It does not matter, because there are guys that I'm like, no, you're full. Oh, I feel so flat. It's in your head. You can, okay, if I start loading you with water and sodium and food, and you all of a sudden puff up, sure, you're going to feel full, but you're going to look terrible. So that whole feeling of like, oh, I feel so, become a water buffalo, you're going to feel full. It doesn't matter. It's just like the same thing with vascularity. Some people are like, oh, I'm so veiny a few days after the show. That's how I should have looked.
You see veins barely right now. No, they go away.
They do go away, but also too, you could hold water and still be vascular. It's blood volume. So that Jay Cutler barely had any vascularity when he competed.
Most people on stage aren't very vascular. If they're really, really shredded, they're really not that vascular.
And judges aren't looking at you and being like, "Oh, he's more vascular. I'm going to pick him."
Imagine.
It's the detail.
Then I'd do a lot better.
The detail to them. I was veiny as hell days after the show, but I didn't have the same detail to the muscle that I had on stage.
Blood pressure through the roof.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah,
I'm gonna get my blood pressure up. That's it.
That'll do it. Yeah.
It's just like that's the thing that people think is you're going to throw some Hail Mary at the end and make up for the lost time. It's just not going to happen,
No.
And I think people really need to realize that. Like, there's nothing that's going to take you from 10th place to first place. Sorry, you didn't put the work in. You got to realize that. All right.
Let's get another question, because we're already an hour and 6 minutes in.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of being fat, at what point is somebody too fat in the off season? Well, there you go.
So this question, he also said, you go by just visuals, how they look. That's like a new trendy word, visuals. Or do you go by biofeedback? It's both in a way, but it's mainly going to be looking at somebody. And it's also.
What do you mean by biofeedback?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like blood sugars and
I'm sure
weight and body weight. I don't body weight and blood sugars.
More expert
so, but it's also very individual specific when you look at somebody. Like, there may be Bob who is starting to, his legs are always lean, but his lower back, his love handles is starting to spill over a bit. His glutes may be somewhat lean, but he's like spilling over, meaning fat. You get this clear fat in that area. Maybe that's a bit too much for Bob. His skin is getting a little too thick. So it's very objective is the word I believe I'm looking for. Right? Objective with that person. So with this person, he's a client of mine, I saw it like his lower stomach, his love handles, perfect. Get a bit too much. His legs stay pretty lean, but that may be different for somebody else. Now, it is going to be visual, but he does have a point, because usually when somebody is putting on too much body fat, their blood sugars are rising. They are having some sort of insulin resistance going on. Sometimes too, their estrogen is probably extremely high. I was one of those people. I put on body fat very easy. My off seasons, I was very soft. I'm just not you are too. I looked horrible in my off seasons. Like, unless I was peeled for a show, I never really looked good. So those are all things I like to look at with people. Again, it's very individual based. But also I want to add too, there are people that are in the early phase of their bodybuilding journey, like the younger guys, who kind of have to put on a bit more body fat than they'd like to put on mass. You and I have both been through that before. Now, I know you and I have spoken about keeping people lean in the off season to grow. Yes, for the majority, that is the way to go. But there are guys that, maybe they're ectomorphs. There are guys that are early on in the career, they have to put on that body fat to push up their weight, to be able to push more in the gym, maybe have a bit more cushion on their joints so they can push more weight, to be able to break through those plateaus. I mean, pretty much every bodybuilder has done that. And then later on in their career, when they're older, they stay leaner because it's better for health purposes, better for longevity, and better to grow.
And and it's within reason too. We're not saying just get a fucking obese, like
Don't become Lee Priest.
yeah, like so like there's within reason. So like, okay, I know that I put on a lot of water, I put on a lot of fat very, very easily. Okay. Things happen too. Things change every year. I'm definitely staying leaner so far this year. We have a better formula, but also I'm older. My estrogen doesn't get as high anymore. I take a couple things for preventative measures for blood pressure as well. So that's going to keep my aldosterone in check as well. So I know I'm not going to be holding as much water. So there's a lot of other factors in there too,
muscle maturity.
Muscle maturity. And also I'm just bigger now. Like I'm going to burn more calories. Like my resting metabolic rate during prep, when I actually did the RMR, like the real RMR with the Bane mask on, it was still like 4,600 calories, like, so it's like, does a calorie thing matter? Like we talked before? No, but I can get away with more than I could before. So it's going to change year after year for that person. But yeah, what's too fat? Yeah, same thing. I most of my clients are in another state than here in Alaska, but I look for certain body parts. Like I don't want them to get in titties. Like I don't want them to be gaining too much tissue and fat in their chest that we can't turn around. I don't want to.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I hold fat in my chest too. But like there's like, I don't want you jiggling. Like there's like, it's one thing if you have some fat and I can still see some abs if you like squint your eyes and tilt your head, but I don't want you like jiggling around. Like that's not good either. Like that's too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to see like you looking like your skin's fucking red and inflamed at the same time, and I bet some people who have body fat who are in better health condition than the guy who's super lean and he's just red and his blood pressure through the roof because he doesn't do anything that I tell him to do. So it's not always about just being lean. So yeah, I do use some biomarkers. I make sure that I don't want them waking up with their blood sugar like over 100. I really don't even want it in the 90s, like above like 95. I'm pretty
but 90s. I keep that. I think under 100 is because it's always going to fluctuate, even if they have a bad night of sleep or if they're stressed. I leave 100 as that mark. If you're under, I'm cool with that. Ideally under 90, like you just said.
Yeah,
but that's in a perfect world. Right?
Yes,
and we don't live in a perfect world.
Yeah. Blood pressure. It also depends because so now there's more studies too showing that some people just have higher blood pressure. It doesn't necessarily mean like their perfect zone is going to be a little bit adjusted, and some people is very low. So I think that it depends on that person, because if they are normally like in the 110s over like 60s or 70s, and all of a sudden they're like 130s over 80s, and then it's like 140s over 90s. Okay, what's going on now? Like that's why you want to do that blood pressure all the time so you can see the trend. If they're constantly like 130 over like 85, and that's just their normal blood pressure they've always had, it's not so much of I'm not so worried about that. If it starts trending upward, especially the diastolic, the lower number, that's their resting side, or when the heart's at rest. So
yeah.
So I guess we use both. Long answer. Okay. On that,
Chris, let's do one. You want to do one more question, or do you want to talk about something else?
Is there something else you want to talk about?
I'm good for this one.
All right. Let me do this because it's just to have some fun here. Okay.
Cool.
Funniest show experience. I'm just going to change directions completely. Okay. I want you to go first because.
All right, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk Teen Nationals, where I almost missed going on stage at Teen Nationals because Oscar wouldn't let me leave the room to become stressed. When I was 8, this is going to be two-sided. I'm going to tell two stories.
Okay.
So when I was 18, I was working with George Farrer for the Eastern USA's, and he wanted me to take like 3 or 4 ounces of wine, like 30 minutes pre-stage. And I'll never forget, was it my mom? She runs backstage with like this thing of wine. It's like this, but bigger, with like a handle like this. So we're like rushing to get me ready to go on stage. Chris, I go like this. I start drinking this thing. And I was you want to talk, and you know how it feels to not have alcohol. Well, if I was 18,
Yeah.
I drank before. You want to talk? I was wrecked going on stage. The room, I remember being on stage and the room is just spinning. And this is at the BMCC Theater in Manhattan. The lights, and it was in a big, big theater. I just like stuck. I remember just watching the room just spin while I'm on stage. So there's that. And then there's the Nationals, where I won my pro card. It was at the finals. And I remember sitting backstage and my blood sugar starts plummeting. So I had Pop-Tarts on me that Chad had me eating with meals or whatever. I start shoving these Pop-Tarts down, which it helped, thank God. Because I think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have stood somewhat full through it, because the recomparison round was like 10 minutes, which is a long time on stage.
Yeah.
I think I ate like 5 or 6 Pop-Tarts, which is a lot of Pop-Tarts to have before you step on stage. And so now they line us up. This is a little bit after my blood sugar had to be so high. I was so dehydrated. It was a 2-day show. So I had to piss. My Demidex in my system. My blood sugar is probably sky high from these Pop-Tarts. I had to piss so bad and I couldn't go to the bathroom. So what did I do? There was like this concrete wall. You've competed at, when Nash was in Miami. Backstage, there was like this concrete wall. I go to the wall. I just start pissing. And it's just come. And next thing you know, somebody else comes next to me, starts pissing. The whole wall had 7, 8, I think it was 10 people just pissing on this wall. And there's piss all over the stage.
Oh my
leading
God.
to the stage, going backstage. And thank God these guys did it, so I wasn't the odd man out. One of the expediters was like, "What the fuck are you all doing?" It was disgusting.
Imagine
But at the same, it was horrible. So you had the mix of BO, spray tan, and just piss before you go on stage. And yeah, I started off this piss fucking marathon that was going on. Yeah, that
Oh
I think
my
that
God.
was like the highlight of them all.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight. Okay, so I got 2 as well, because might as well throw them out there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell the whole story, okay, but I am going to tell you this part. So you know I got arrested before the Southern States the one year.
You told me about it at Tampa. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to speed this up. Obviously, it's okay because I'm in the military with secret clearance and stuff, so I'm not a criminal. Okay, I got a freaking I got an accident like a month or 2 prior, and you have to show up to court to like pay the ticket. All right. My ex got in a car accident again right after weigh-ins, and I had to make weight, and I was gonna go have like a burger or something afterwards to whatever. This is what I was told to do. And lo and behold, we're on the way. I'm all spray tan and all that shit. And she gets in an accident. They check my ID, and this paisan from New York is like, hey, my guy, you got a warrant out for your arrest? And I was like, oh. So turns out that they put my court date on the wrong day. So I was correct. Fast forward, they said everything was fine. But for the meantime, I was like, hey, man, I got to take you in. We'll take care of it. And I was like, okay. So ended up going to jail, and you could only call local landlines. So I couldn't even call it. So I had some other random inmate. By the way, there was no separation. I was not like with the drunkies. It was me and like murderers in the same room. Okay. Like,
and there you are spray tanned up.
Yeah. And I'm in the jail with blackface on, and I'm the only white guy too. But that was not a good look. And then they're saying, hey, bro, like, you want to fucking flex, bro? You in that show? And I'm like, oh my God, dude, this is so fucked up. But yeah, so ended up having to spend the night in jail because they didn't process me till midnight. I have some other inmate call his wife to then call my ex to bail me out because I gave her my debit card before I left. I'm like, hey, just fucking pay me, whatever. And I finally get out at like 9 a.m. And listen, I went in at like 2:20 something, and I left jail the next day at like 2:04. Okay. Like, I lost so much water weight because it was like 150 degrees in that fucking cell. There's no AC. This is in Broward County, Florida, right next to the Southern State.
Terrible place to be. One day out.
Dripping tan off. And listen, I had diuretics in me, and I was pissing like crazy. No water. There's no water there to drink either. I looked terrible. I was so flat. So I show up. A friend of mine knew some people in the tanning, like, who worked for like Hotspot, the tanning company down there. And I was like, yo, like, forget it. I'm not going to compete. Actually, Paul Puck ended up picking me up from jail that day. And I'm like, do you have any food? And he's like, no. So, by the way, this is a whole day. So I've been cutting already, and then no food, no water, and diuretics, bad, cramping like crazy. And then he's like, "Oh, I have his Reese's cups." So I was like, "Fuck it, give me something." And then he's like, "You're stepping on stage. You're not doing all this work to not step on stage." I'm like, "Whatever, I don't care." All my friends were coming to watch, and I'm going to fix my tan, and we're standing there naked. I don't have a sock on or anything. I'm just drying off, and then they're like, I'm like, hey, can somebody get me some food or something? And then randomly this dude comes, and then he says, "Hey, are you Chris Massaro?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And I'm naked talking to this random dude. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm a huge fan of Jason Ha and Paul Ha, and I just, I saw them in the crowd, and he gave me this, and he had rice cakes and peanut butter." Okay. And I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "Do you want some?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he starts scooping peanut butter out and feeding me. I'll be naked with my tan on and giving me bites of rice cakes. And I'm like, like no water still, like ended up getting second place. It was all right. So that was a funny part, I guess.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
It was worth it. And then, all right, the other funny part was recently at Tampa Pro, which I never told you about. So you do your individual, right? And I'm not used to so the individuals of the USA's was like, they said 30 seconds, it was probably 20 seconds. Just hit as many good mandatories as you can, and then you get off. They tell you to fuck off, right? And before I stepped on stage, I was like, Antoine Vaillant was there. And I was like, "Hey man," I'm like, "So these guys are up there for a long time." He's like, "Yeah, he's like, hit all your mandatory poses. If you have a bad one, just skip that one, but really try to get them all in there." And I was like, "Okay." We practiced the night? Well, we had an idea with you and Joey, but he's like, "Yeah, don't make sure you stay up there the whole time." And I was like, "Okay."
So it was a long time too.
Yeah. So I went up there. I started hitting my poses, and I can hear you guys at the beginning, and then by the end, it's just fucking dead silent in the whole show. Nobody's cheering. Nobody's doing anything. I looked down at Tyler. I was just like, "All right." So in my head, I'm just like, "All right, fuck me." And I just walk off stage. I was like, just set it off for a moment. You just stand there in your underwear with all these people staring at you. You're not even flexing anymore. You're like, "All right, well, this is next time."
Yeah,
So,
no, that was a long routine. You weren't used to that.
yeah, I was waiting for him to tell me to leave, and I was like, "I'll just flex again, I guess." I was like, "All right, I'm getting the fuck off." I made eye contact I looked to the right, and then the three of you, Andrea and Steph, were just like, and I was like, "Fuck."
The awkward silence.
And Tyler's like this, and I'm like, "All right, I'm fucking out of here."
Good times.
So, yeah. In the end, I ended up laughing about it. I was telling Andrea, she started laughing. She's like, I'm like, "Yeah, like you hear about pros going like over to Europe and Asia and everything, and the fans go crazy and everything. And it's just not as loud here, apparently.
Different, very different. Yeah, it's different.
And also at the USA's, I could hear Joey from a mile away if he was a mile away, which was fun and awesome.
You would have still heard him. Yeah.
Yeah. But so anybody watching this, if you're a fan and you go to a show, be loud. It's fun. It jacks us up, makes us excited on stage, right? It's fun.
It does.
Yeah.
People look at you weird. People look at you weird if you're yelling at shows these days.
Yeah, fuck them. Just have a good time, shout. You paid money for the show, and the people who are entertaining you, the people you want to see, are going to have a lot more fun too. So,
yeah. All right, let's wrap it up because I have to head to the gym.
All right.
Yes.
So, guys, thank you again for watching. Thank you for giving us your questions. I hope we didn't get all of them. We will do another show and cover a lot of these questions. So please like and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm IFBB Pro Chris Massaro. And then what's your Instagram, Dom?
Dom Cardone, IFBB.
All right.
Former.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bro, I'll see you later.
See you later, dude.